At my brother's wedding, I caught my husband with my sister-in-law. I turned to the groom, and he just winked. Don't worry, the main event is about to begin. Can you imagine standing at your brother's wedding, a day bursting with dreams and white roses, only to stumble upon a kiss that wasn't meant for you, a kiss that wasn't meant to be seen at all? That one moment shattered my entire world, revealing my perfect husband and my future sister-in-law were not just having a secret affair, but were meticulously plotting to destroy my family and everything we held dear. What would you do when faced with such a vile betrayal? Would you scream? Would you run? Or would you turn their day of celebration into the ultimate stage for their comeuppance? That day in New York City started like a dream. The Plaza Hotel glowed, adorned with luxurious white silk and fresh flowers. Crystal chandeliers glittered like frozen stars, and the air hummed with soft music and blessings. It was Liam's big day, my older brother's wedding to Sophia, my soon-to-be sister-in-law. As his little sister, I swelled with a pride and happiness I couldn't hide. Liam, 5 years my senior, was more than a brother. He was my rock. Ever since our parents passed too soon, he'd been my protector, my friend, my whole world. Seeing him so radiant, about to marry a woman as seemingly beautiful and sweet as Sophia, filled my heart with warmth. She was so delicate, so soft-spoken, always looking at Liam with such admiration. She'd treated me like a true sister during their courtship. I genuinely believed our small family was finally complete, that happiness had truly found us. Beside me, my husband, Ethan, had his arm around my waist. An architect, talented, charming. In my eyes and everyone else's, he was the perfect man. 5 years of marriage, a relationship people envied. He was my gentle, attentive pillar through every storm. He squeezed my hand, whispering, "Your brother looks amazing today, and Sophia's a dream. They're a match made in heaven." I leaned my head on his shoulder, soaking in that familiar calm. "Yes," I sighed, "I hope they'll be as happy as we are." I truly thought I was the luckiest woman alive. I had a brother who adored me, a wonderful husband, and soon a lovely sister-in-law. I was living in that rose-tinted bubble, right up until I burst it with my own hands. The ceremony was about to begin. I wanted a picture with the bride and groom, but suddenly realized Ethan had been gone for a while. I looked around, not seeing his familiar figure. Maybe he'd stepped out for a call, I thought. So, I walked towards the quiet end of the hallway, where a small balcony overlooked the hotel's rear garden. It seemed like a likely spot. As I got closer, whispers drifted to me, then a woman's soft giggle. That voice, it was all too familiar. My pace slowed, my heart picking up an uneasy rhythm. Through the crack of the glass door leading to the balcony, I saw it. A scene that froze my blood. My husband, Ethan, was there. And the woman he was holding in his arms, kissing with sickening passion, was the bride herself, Sophia. My future sister-in-law. She was still in her immaculate wedding dress, but now it looked utterly disgusting, hypocritical. Time stopped. My ears went deaf. All sound evaporated, replaced by the deafening sound of my heart shattering into a million pieces. I leaned heavily against the cold wall, trying not to collapse. A lump formed in my throat, a wave of nausea rising in my chest. Then, their conversation reached me. Every word was a sharp knife, mercilessly stabbing the last shred of hope I had left. "You're very bold, babe." "Meeting here at this hour," Sophia purred, her hands still wrapped around Ethan's neck. Ethan scoffed. A laugh I'd never heard from him, full of arrogance and disdain. "What are you afraid of?" No one would ever imagine. Look at that stupid family of hers busy running around like puppets. And her brother? That Liam, he's just a lovesick fool. We have everything under control. Stupid, that was me. Lovesick fool, that was my brother. My fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my flesh. I felt no pain. "Still, I'm a little nervous," Sophia continued. "What if everything is discovered later? Besides, I don't like the idea of living with you and your wife." Ethan laughed again, this time with pure contempt. "You don't have to be jealous of that kid. I married her only for the status of being the daughter of a well-respected, educated family, to fool the world. She's nothing more than a baby machine, my shield. As soon as she gives me a son, I'll find a way to get rid of her. Soon, all of Liam's fortune will be ours. And then you can have whatever you want, my love." My love, those 2 words struck me like lightning. I couldn't bear it anymore. My world, my beliefs, 5 years of love, everything had been obliterated in an instant. I turned, walking like an automaton. I didn't know where I was going. Tears streamed down my face, but I couldn't cry out loud. Just profound disgust. Stumbling, my mind blank, I bumped into someone. Lifting my head through tear-blurred vision, I saw him. My brother, the groom. Liam. Seeing my pitiful state, his handsome brow furrowed. "Chloe, what's wrong? Did something happen?" I couldn't hold it in. I threw my arms around him and burst into sobs. Between choked cries, I told him everything. Everything I'd just seen and heard. I expected him to rage, to run to that balcony, to smash everything, to call off the wedding. But he just listened in silence, gently patting my back with his large hand. When my sobs quieted, he gently pushed me away, looking straight into my eyes. On his face, there was no surprise, no anger, only a terrifying calm. He wiped my tears, then gave me a meaningful wink, a gesture only we, as siblings, understood. He whispered something I'd never forget. "Don't worry, the main event is about to begin." Liam's words struck me like a thunderbolt, leaving me so stunned I even forgot to cry. The main event, how could he say something so calmly when he was being betrayed on his wedding day by his fiancée and my husband? My mind reeled. I thought the shock must have broken him. Seeing me dazed, Liam said nothing more. He simply took my hand, firmly, and led me towards the end of the hall, to the groom's waiting room. He looked around cautiously, then pushed me inside and locked the door. The room, decorated with white ribbons and balloons, felt heavy, tense, almost suffocating. "Chloe, listen to me carefully." Liam turned, his eyes no longer terrifyingly calm, but filled with the serious, cold determination I'd only seen when he made critical business decisions. "I've known about all this for a long time." I froze again. For a long time? How was that possible? Liam sighed, pulling a chair for me. "It was 3 months ago," he began. "I started to notice something wasn't right. Sophia showed excessive interest in our company's management, asking about projects and financials, details a fiancé wouldn't normally probe. And your husband, Ethan, acted with an abnormal familiarity with her. Subtle glances, small gestures. Things only those involved would notice." A knot tightened in my chest. While I was blind with happiness, my brother had been silently detecting the dangerous undercurrents. "I had a bad feeling," he continued. "So, I secretly hired a private investigator. And what they discovered was far more terrible than I had imagined. It wasn't just infidelity, Chloe. Behind it all was a meticulously calculated conspiracy." Liam opened his phone, showing me photos and documents. There were pictures of Ethan and Sophia on secret dates in luxurious places. Bank statements showed large sums transferred from an unidentified account to Sophia's. What truly horrified me was a detailed plan from Ethan's emails. The plan unfolded in phases. First, Sophia would seduce Liam, marry him, and join our family. Simultaneously, Ethan, using my trust as his wife, would leak internal company information. Their ultimate goal? After the wedding, Sophia would convince Liam to entrust Ethan with major projects, allowing them to embezzle funds, create ghost debts, and bankrupt our parents' company, taking everything. Blood ran cold in my veins. My 5 years of marriage, the love I'd nurtured, all just a move in their game. Ethan didn't love me. He'd used me as a pawn, a tool for his vile conspiracy. My romantic betrayal morphed into a deep, burning hatred. They hadn't just trampled my feelings, they'd tried to destroy our parents' life's work. "Then why? Why did you go ahead with this wedding, knowing everything?" I asked, my voice trembling. Liam looked at me, a sharp glint in his eyes. "If I had broken off the engagement, we would have only caught 2 small fish, Ethan and Sophia. The one pulling the strings from the shadows would never have been revealed. Besides, we didn't have enough evidence to expose their entire conspiracy. My brother had decided to turn the wedding into a trap, a grand stage for everyone to witness the play unfold." Liam squeezed my hand. "I have everything prepared, Chloe. The company's important assets have been transferred to a secure trust. The projects they're interested in are just shell projects with no value. And I've installed recorders and cameras everywhere. We just have to wait for them to expose themselves." I looked at my brother, feeling both pity and admiration. He had endured all of this alone, planning and counterattacking, while I remained oblivious in my false, rose-colored world. "Now I need you." Liam's voice grew more serious. "Your appearance, the fact that you discovered the truth at this moment, is a variable they didn't expect. But that will become our ace in the hole. Ethan and Sophia will only see you as a poor wife heartbroken by betrayal. They will never suspect you right now. Keep playing that role. Keep crying. Pretend to be devastated. The more miserable you appear, the better. Can you do it?" I quickly wiped my tears. The pain still burned, but it had transformed into the fierce flames of hatred. My brother was right. This was no time for weakness. I wasn't just crying over a husband's betrayal. I had to fight for justice for our entire family. "I can do it," I nodded, my voice much firmer. Just then, a knock. "Mr. Miller, it's time for the ceremony to begin." It was the wedding planner. Liam stood, adjusting his bow tie. He looked at me, a confident smile playing on his lips. "All right, little sis. Let's go out there. The show is about to begin. Remember, you are not alone. Your brother is here." We walked out together. In the main hall, Ethan and Sophia chatted cheerfully with guests, arm in arm. Ethan spotted us and immediately approached, his face full of feigned concern. "Chloe, where have you been? I've been looking all over for you." I looked up at him, my eyes still swollen from crying. I said nothing, just shook my head and moved closer to Liam. Ethan looked puzzled by my coldness, but probably chalked it up to exhaustion. The music turned solemn. The master of ceremonies boomed, and now let's give a warm welcome to today's stars, the groom, Mr. Liam Miller, and the bride, Miss Sophia Reed. All lights focused on them. Admiration filled every eye. As Liam took Sophia's hand to walk down the aisle, I smiled. It was probably the most perfect lie of my life. But it was also the smile that foretold the coming storm. Under the dazzling stage lights, Liam and Sophia looked like a perfect couple. Liam still wore a happy smile, though I knew it was part of his flawless performance. Sophia, feigning shyness and sweetness, occasionally cast loving glances at him. She was an exceptional actress. They walked down an aisle covered in white roses, to the incessant applause of hundreds of guests. I sat in the front row, family section, with Ethan beside me. His arms still around my shoulders, he whispered sweet nothings. Aren't they beautiful? I hope we'll celebrate such a grand wedding anniversary too. I leaned on his shoulder in silence, pretending to be captivated by the romance. But in reality, I struggled to suppress the nausea rising in my throat. Every word, every touch, felt repulsive. His hand on my shoulder, the same hand that had embraced another woman just minutes before. The ceremony proceeded with its usual protocol. The MC, with his syrupy voice, praised their predestined love story. Destiny? I almost laughed out loud. Yes, a destiny woven with conspiracies and calculations. After the empty speeches, the moment for exchanging rings arrived. An adorable flower girl, in pristine white, brought the rings on a red velvet pillow. Liam and Sophia faced each other, ready to exchange their symbols of love. One moment. Suddenly, a voice from the audience shattered the sacred moment. The entire hall held its breath, eyes turning to the speaker. It was a middle-aged woman, elegantly dressed, her face etched with anger and pain. She was accompanied by an older man, likely her husband. I saw Sophia flinch, her face paling. Liam remained utterly calm, as if he'd anticipated this. "Excuse me, who are you? What's going on?" the MC stammered. The woman ignored him, walking directly onto the stage, stopping before Sophia. "Sophia, do you recognize me?" Her voice mixed anger and disappointment. Sophia took a step back, her face bloodless. "Ma'am, how are you here? Why shouldn't I be here?" The woman scoffed bitterly. "I came to see how my future daughter-in-law, the one who swore eternal love to my son, is about to become another man's wife. I came to seek justice for my son." A murmur spread through the guests. Asterisk future daughter-in-law? Son? What was happening? Asterisk Ethan, beside me, was surprised. "What's going on, Chloe? Who is that woman?" I just shook my head, feigning equal surprise and confusion. The woman turned to the guests, her voice rising. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to interrupt this happy day, but there's something I must say. This young lady on the stage, Sophia, was my son's fiancée. They were in love for 5 years, celebrated their engagement, and were just waiting for the wedding date. But in just a few months, she changed her mind and left with a richer man, leaving my son in terrible pain. As she finished, she pulled a stack of photos from her purse, throwing them onto the stage. Photos of Sophia with another man in affectionate poses, engagement party pictures, scattered across the floor. A collective gasp echoed through the hall. All gazes, now fixed on the bride, were no longer of admiration, but curiosity, doubt, reproach. Sophia stood frozen, her face white as a sheet. She stammered, trying to explain, "No, it's not like that. That person and we broke up a long time ago." "Broke up?" The woman scoffed again. "How shameless you are. Now you lie? Just 3 months ago, you took money from my son for shopping and investments. You deceived and used him. How can you betray him like this now?" Sophia was speechless, looking pleadingly at Liam. But my brother, the groom, who should have been furious, merely crossed his arms, looking at her with unfamiliar coldness and distance. I, sitting below, watched the play unfold in silence. This was the first act Liam had prepared. He'd found Sophia's abandoned ex-fiancée and invited his mother. He wanted to rip off Sophia's mask of innocence and purity for all to see. Seeing the situation unraveling, Sophia suddenly clutched her chest, staggered, and collapsed on the stage, feigning a faint. "Oh my God, the bride has fainted," some shouted. Sophia's family, whom I now knew were merely hired actors, rushed to the stage, creating chaos. Amidst it all, Liam slowly walked over, looking down at the fainted Sophia. No concern, rather a slight smile. He took the microphone from the stunned MC. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice resonated, firm and clear, silencing the noise. "I'm sorry to have shown you such an unpleasant play, but I believe the truth must always come to light." He glanced at Sophia, who was peeking at the crowd's reaction. "You act very well, Miss Reed, but I think it's time to end this farce." His words were a bucket of cold water for everyone. Sophia, startled, quickly closed her eyes, but it was too late. Everyone had seen her. And to make this play even more interesting, Liam continued, "I'd like to invite another special guest to the stage, someone very closely related to the charade." He looked towards Ethan and me. My heart raced. I knew it was our turn. The stage lights swung onto Ethan and me, making us the center of attention. Hundreds of curious, surprised eyes fixed on our family section. Ethan was stunned, not understanding. He turned to me, whispering confusedly, "Who is your brother calling? A special guest?" I didn't answer, just looked at him with tear-filled eyes, an innocent, helpless expression. It was my turn to act. On stage, Liam raised his voice, addressing my husband directly. "The person I want to invite is none other than my brother-in-law, the architect Ethan Thompson. Could you please come up here and share in this joy with us?" This sudden invitation caused an even greater stir. People didn't understand why the groom would call his brother-in-law to the stage at such a delicate moment. Ethan was paralyzed. He looked at me, then the stage, his face paling. He probably sensed something was very wrong, but faced with Liam's public invitation and hundreds of gazes, he couldn't refuse. "Go on up, honey," I said softly, giving him a gentle push. With an innocent tone, I added, "Maybe Liam wants you to share the secret of a happy marriage." My words were a pinprick, but enough to make Ethan flinch. He swallowed hard, forced a smile, and slowly walked towards the stage. Each step seemed to weigh a ton. When Ethan reached the stage, Liam put an arm around his shoulders, affectionately. He addressed the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, don't you think my brother-in-law is handsome and talented? I'm very proud to have a brother-in-law like him. Not only is he a talented architect, but also a wonderful husband who deeply loves my sister." Liam's praise baffled Ethan, who could only smile awkwardly. "And perhaps," Liam continued, his voice suddenly meaningful, "he's so perfect that not only my sister loves him, but other women love him, too. Isn't that right, my dear bride?" Liam turned to Sophia, still unconscious on the floor. I saw her eyelids tremble. Ethan's face was now white as a sheet. He started sweating, trying to wriggle out of Liam's arm. "Brother-in-law, what are you saying? Everyone is misunderstanding things." "Misunderstanding?" Liam laughed, a laugh devoid of warmth. "Well, let me show everyone what the misunderstanding is." He signaled to the technical crew. The two enormous LED screens, which had been showing romantic photos, went dark, then lit up again. But this time, the image was not of roses or candles. It was a video recorded from a hidden angle on the balcony. The entire hall gasped. The same scene I'd witnessed an hour before unfolded vividly for hundreds of people. My husband, Ethan, passionately embracing and kissing the bride, Sophia, in her immaculate wedding dress. The audio, recorded with chilling clarity, echoed through the hall. Each disgusting word, "that stupid family of hers, busy running around like puppets, and that Liam, he's just a lovesick fool. I married her only to fool the world. She's nothing more than a baby machine." The ballroom exploded. Shouts, insults, contempt rained down on the two on stage. The most sordid drama of adultery and betrayal was being projected in the most vivid way possible. Sophia could no longer maintain her feint. She jumped up, pale and trembling. Ethan could barely stand, staggering back, pointing at the screen. "No, it's not true. It's edited. It's fake." But his weak words couldn't quell the crowd's fury. "Trash. What a pair of cheaters. I can't believe it." Insults erupted from all sides. Sophia's fake family couldn't continue their act. They stood frozen, faces red with shame. And I, still in the front row, felt tears flow again. This time, it wasn't an act. They were real tears of pain, reliving that scene, hearing those poisonous words again before so many. I covered my face, my shoulders shaking. I had to portray the miserable victim, a wife completely shattered by cruel truth. On stage, Liam looked at me, a flash of compassion in his eyes, quickly replaced by cold determination. He snatched the microphone from the MC. "Ladies and gentlemen," he shouted, his voice possessing an invisible force that instantly silenced the chaotic hall. "Have you all seen it? This is the true face of the woman I was about to marry and the man I once considered my brother-in-law, part of my family." He turned to Ethan and Sophia, his gaze like twin knives. "Do you two have anything else to say? Or do you want me to show you something even more interesting?" Ethan and Sophia, desperate, could only shake their heads. They were cornered, no excuses left. But all of this, Liam continued, his voice becoming even more mysterious and frightening, doesn't end here. This drama of infidelity is actually just the tip of a much larger iceberg. The hall fell silent again. Everyone wondered what the groom meant. Liam pulled a stack of documents from his tuxedo pocket, holding it up for all to see. What they really wanted wasn't love, but this? What was in that stack of documents? And what connection did it have with the person who, according to my brother, was pulling the strings from the shadows? All eyes fixed on the papers in Liam's hand, waiting for an even more terrible truth to be revealed. The documents in Liam's hand became a mysterious object, captivating everyone. The room held its breath, waiting for the drama to unravel. Ethan and Sophia looked up, terror now reflected in their desperate eyes. They knew better than anyone what those papers contained. "Before I tell you what this is," Liam said, slowly, clearly, "I'd like to tell you a little story. The story of a cunning old fox who used 2 skunks to rob a hen house." He scanned the room, his gaze piercing some guests in the VIP section. I noticed a stout man in an elegant gray suit suddenly tense, cough lightly, and adjust his tie. The fox, Liam continued, knew the hen house was very well protected, so he didn't dare act on his own. That's why he found 2 skunks, a male and a female. He promised them a life of abundance, food, and warm clothing. They just had to help him carry out a plan. The female skunk's mission was to seduce the head rooster, the future owner of a hen house. The male skunk's mission was to court the head rooster's sister, a naive hen, to become part of the family. Hearing this, I no longer needed to act. Tears flowed for real. My brother's metaphorical story was another knife twisting in my pain. I was that naive hen. Their ultimate goal, Liam's voice grew even colder, was after gaining their trust, to slowly open the doors and break the fences so that the old fox from outside could quietly come in and take over the entire hen house. Isn't that a perfect plan? He looked directly at Ethan and Sophia. "You 2 skunks. Does this story sound familiar?" Ethan and Sophia hung their heads in shame. "And this," Liam raised the stack of documents, "is the detailed plan and the map that the old fox drew for the 2 skunks. The map that tells them which path to take and where to break the fence. This is the complete plan to take over the Miller Corporation. Our parents' life's work." He flipped through the documents, projecting their contents onto the big screen. Figures, charts, dirty business strategies appeared clearly. Their plan wasn't limited to embezzling funds. It included creating false scandals, undermining Liam's credibility, and fomenting internal divisions to ultimately create conditions for a rival company to acquire Miller Corporation at a bargain price. And the name of that rival company was also in plain sight, Aurelian Holdings. The hall buzzed again. Aurelian Holdings was well known, an emerging force with bold, controversial moves. And the man in the gray suit, who'd shown strange behavior earlier, was none other than its CEO, Mr. Caldwell. Now all eyes were on him. Mr. Caldwell turned pale, but tried to maintain composure. He stood, straightened his clothes, and tried to leave. "Mr. Caldwell, where are you going in such a hurry?" Liam's voice was like an invisible rope. "The best part is yet to come. You wouldn't want to miss it." Mr. Caldwell turned, forcing an awkward business smile. "CEO Miller, I believe there's a misunderstanding. I have nothing to do with your company's internal affairs." "Nothing to do?" Liam laughed coldly. "Then how do you explain your secret meetings with these 2 people? And the money you sent Miss Reed so she could pose as a rich girl? And the promise of a project director position to Mr. Thompson if everything went well?" Each of Liam's questions was a heavy blow that left Mr. Caldwell barely able to stand. I knew my brother wasn't just talking. He had all the evidence. Just then, 2 men in plain clothes, looking like police detectives, slowly approached Mr. Caldwell's table. They said nothing, just stared at him with solemn gazes. Mr. Caldwell realized all escape routes were blocked. He collapsed into his chair, his forehead drenched in sweat. The play he'd so carefully constructed was about to end. The old fox had finally been cornered. I, sitting below, watched it all. My heart was no longer filled with personal pain, but with anger at the vileness and cruelty of the business world. For profit, they trampled everything: love, family ties, human decency. My husband, Ethan, whom I once loved madly, was just a pawn on someone else's chessboard. He'd sold his soul for a vain promise. He looked at me, and in his eyes, there was no shamelessness, but extreme emptiness and despair. He'd lost everything: love, honor, his future. On stage, Liam, after exposing the entire conspiracy, turned to me. He walked in my direction, without a word, and held out his hand. I took it, and we went on stage together. He took the microphone, his voice no longer sharp, but softened with a touch of compassion. "Ladies and gentlemen, the person most hurt in this story is not me, but my sister, Chloe. This girl has had to endure the deceit and betrayal of the man she loved deeply. She is completely innocent." He turned to me, his look full of love. "Chloe, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I should have realized sooner. I should have protected you better." I just shook my head, tears welling again, this time, tears of emotion and gratitude. "Today's wedding," Liam continued, "will have no bride, but the party will go on. I hope all our distinguished guests will stay and consider this a party to celebrate the truth." The entire hall erupted in applause. They weren't applauding a wedding, but the courage and victory of justice. Just when I thought it was all over, a sharp scream ripped through the air. Sophia, who had been collapsed on the floor, leaped up. She tore a sharp hairpin from her hairdo and, with a crazed look, lunged at me. "It's all your fault. It's all your fault." Sophia's crazed action was so fast, so sudden, it stunned everyone. The hairpin, glinting under the lights, flew towards me like a poisoned arrow. I stood frozen, my mind blank. I knew the danger but couldn't react. Liam, beside me, didn't have time to intervene either. When the tip of the hairpin was inches from my face, a shadow shot out from behind me like lightning. It was Ethan. He threw his whole body in front of me. The sharp tip grazed his shoulder, leaving a red blood stain on his white shirt. Ethan cried out in pain, staggering backward. Sophia seemed shocked by her own action and by Ethan's reaction. She dropped the hairpin, standing there stunned, her face pale. That's when hotel security rushed in to restrain her and lead her away. The hall fell into chaos again. Liam rushed to Ethan. "Are you okay?" Ethan, his face contorted in pain, shook his head. He didn't look at Liam, but at me. His gaze was complex, regret, pain, and somehow a kind of relief. "Chloe, are you okay?" I looked at the blood on his shoulder, my heart a mix of emotions. Why had he done it? How could the man who deceived and used me risk his life to protect me? Or was this another act? An attempt to gain my last shred of compassion? "Take him to the first aid room immediately," Liam ordered the hotel staff. As Ethan was led away, the two plainclothes detectives also took Mr. Caldwell. The CEO of Aurelian Holdings no longer looked imposing. He was just a defeated old man, walking with his head down amidst accusations and contempt. The wedding farce had finally ended. Liam took the microphone again, trying to calm the guests. "Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I apologize for the unexpected incident. Our party will have to end here. On behalf of my family, I sincerely thank you all for your attendance." The guests began to leave, one by one, carrying an unforgettable story. What had been a splendid wedding hall now looked desolate and cold, like a ruin. Liam and I stood silently in the empty space. Extreme exhaustion washed over us. "It's all over, Chloe," Liam said, patting my shoulder. I nodded, but a big question lingered. "Brother, how did you know everything? The company acquisition plan, Mr. Caldwell's role, how did you know?" Liam looked at me, a sad smile touching his lips. "Because I wasn't the only one who wanted to unmask him. My brother told me another story, a story hidden for years. Before he passed away, our father was a close friend and business partner of Mr. Caldwell. Together, they laid the first bricks for both companies. But it was that same Mr. Caldwell who, with dirty tricks, cheated our father out of all his shares and drove him to bankruptcy. That blow made our father fall ill. His health deteriorated, and he passed away. I always had my doubts about my father's death." Liam's voice grew graver. "After inheriting the company, I started investigating secretly and gradually found evidence of his crimes. But he was too cunning, covering all his tracks skillfully. I never had enough proof to bring him down. Until Sophia appeared," my brother continued. "At first, I was also deceived by her innocent appearance, but I realized there were too many coincidences. She always casually mentioned projects where Aurelian Holdings was competing with us. So, I had her investigated and discovered the relationship between her and Mr. Caldwell. I realized he was trying to repeat the same script with me as he did with my father. And I decided this was my chance to avenge our father." Hearing this, I felt a lump in my throat. Behind the company's success, my brother had carried such a heavy burden of revenge. He lived a lie, acted with the woman he was about to marry, waiting for the day he could bring down his enemy. "So everything was in your plan?" I asked. "Most of it?" "Yes," Liam nodded. "Except for one thing. I didn't know your husband was also part of his plan, and much less that you would be the trigger for all of this. Your appearance, your courage, was the unexpected variable, the decisive blow that made him fall without having time to react." My brother looked at me with pride. "My little sister, you've really grown up." I managed to smile through my tears. We had won. Together. As siblings, we had won. Shortly after, a hotel employee informed us Ethan had received first aid. The wound wasn't deep, but he needed a hospital for a tetanus shot and a thorough checkup. He said he wanted to talk to me alone for a moment before he left. I hesitated, then nodded. I needed to know if any sincerity remained in him. I entered the first aid room. Ethan sat on a cot, his shoulder bandaged. He looked disheveled, his designer suit wrinkled, shirt stained with blood, his face devoid of vitality. He looked up, his gaze guilt-ridden. I'm sorry, Chloe. What good is an apology now?" I asked coldly. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he said, lowering his head. "I just wanted to tell you one thing. The moment I jumped to protect you, that was real. It wasn't an act." I looked at him in silence. "For the past 5 years," he continued, his voice hoarse, "I've been living a lie. I approached you because of Mr. Caldwell's plan for the money. But then I started to have real feelings for you. Your sweetness, your kindness, it moved my heart. But I was in too deep. I couldn't turn back. I wanted you, and I also wanted the money and status. Greed clouded my judgment. He looked up, tears welling in his eyes. Today, when you were in danger, I realized the only thing I wanted to protect was you. But it's too late for everything. I listened to his belated confession without emotion. Love? Perhaps there was some, but the betrayal and damage had killed it. Save those words for the judge, I said, my voice expressionless. Between us, everything is over. I turned and walked out, leaving him with his regret and late tears. The moment that first aid room door closed, the door to my 5 years of marriage also closed, officially and forever. A week after the stormy wedding, things gradually calmed, but the aftermath was immense. The Aurelian Holdings case became a scandal, shaking the business world. Mr. Caldwell, Sophia, and several other executives were arrested and investigated for fraud, embezzlement, and industrial espionage. Despite his act of saving me, Ethan couldn't escape his involvement. As a key part of the plan, he was summoned to testify and face inevitable justice. I filed for divorce. The process was swift and undisputed. We sold our house, our only valuable shared asset. I wanted nothing that reminded me of a past filled with lies. After everything settled, I needed time for myself. I decided to travel alone, somewhere far away, to clear my head and start anew. Napa Valley, California. Quiet enough to heal my wounds. During my days there, I didn't visit many places. I walked scenic trails, sat in small, charming cafes, reading and writing. After so many storms, what I truly needed was peace of mind. One cool afternoon, sitting in a rustic cafe overlooking a vineyard, sketching ideas for a new company project, a familiar voice sounded beside me. Well, small world. I looked up surprised. It was the police officer who handled a minor car accident for me a year prior. His sudden appearance was disconcerting. No strict uniform, but a comfortable khaki jacket and jeans. He looked younger, more approachable. The Napa breeze tousled his thick, dark hair. Hi, I smiled, hiding my surprise. What a coincidence to see you here. Are you on vacation? You could say that, he replied, a gentle smile revealing a slight dimple. I got transferred here a few weeks ago. Starting a new life. He glanced at my notebook. You were working. Sorry to interrupt. No, I was just finishing up, I said quickly, closing the notebook. He hesitated. Would you mind if I sit here? The cafe is very crowded. I looked around. It was packed. Yes, of course. Please sit. He pulled up a chair, sitting across from me, ordering a hot latte. An awkward silence. I didn't know what to say, and he seemed to be searching for a topic. At the wedding that day, he finally broke the silence. I saw everything. You were very brave. His words surprised me. I thought he'd only been there for the arrest. Thank you. Fortunately, it's all over now. I'm David, he introduced himself. Chloe, I replied. Nice to meet you, David. We started talking. At first, light conversation about Napa, work, hobbies, but gradually it deepened. David told me why he'd transferred. Burned out by stressful New York, he wanted a quieter life, loved the mountains, forests, fresh air. I shared my story, not the painful details of betrayal, but my decision to leave the city and find a new balance. We realized we had something in common. We were both on a journey to a new beginning. David was engaging, intelligent, funny, but in his eyes was something quiet and deep, typical of someone who'd lived a lot. Talking to him made me comfortable, a feeling I hadn't experienced in ages. The sky darkened, warm yellow lights illuminated the cafe, creating a romantic atmosphere. I don't know how long we were talking. David checked his watch. It's getting late. I have to get back to the station. It was a pleasure, Chloe. You too, I smiled. Oh, this weekend, he hesitated again. I'm planning a hike in the hills. If you're not busy, would you like to come? His invitation made my heart skip. Hiking? I've never really done it. All the more reason you should try, he smiled. The air there is incredible. It helps to release all the stress. I thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, I'd love to. After that chance encounter, David and I had our first date. We hiked mountains, walked through vast pine forests, discovered hidden restaurants in St. Helena. With David, I was no longer the woman who had to be strong, who had to distrust everyone. He gave me a strange sense of security and peace. He didn't ask about my past or make me relive painful memories. He just stayed by my side in silence, sharing life's small joys. Feelings between us grew naturally, gently, like the morning mist in Napa. One evening, by Lake Berryessa, watching moonlight reflect on the tranquil water, David suddenly took my hand. Chloe, his voice deep and warm. I know you've been through a lot. I don't want to stir up old wounds. I just want to say that if you'll let me, I'd like to be the person who writes a new chapter of your life with you. A chapter full of joy and happiness. I looked into his sincere eyes, my heart moved. Tears welled, but this time, they were tears of happiness. I said nothing, just nodded, squeezing his warm hand tightly. 2 years later, Mommy, hurry up. Daddy and Uncle Liam are waiting outside. My little daughter Ava's cheerful voice sounded from the door. I smiled, adjusting the bow in her hair. Mommy's coming, my princess. I looked in the mirror. I saw a woman radiant with happiness. Today was special, my first wedding anniversary with David, and the day our whole family was going to New York for the opening of a new Miller Corporation branch. My life had completely changed. After that fateful trip to Napa Valley, I found true love and happiness. David, after we'd dated for a while, requested a transfer back to New York to be by my side. He said wherever I was, that was where his peace would be. We had a small, warm wedding on the beach with only our loved ones. My brother Liam also found his own happiness after all the storms. He fell in love with a kind teacher, and they recently had their first child, a healthy boy. The Miller Corporation, under Liam's leadership and with my support, grew spectacularly, becoming a leading company in its sector. As the car drove along the familiar highway, Ava sat on my lap, chattering, pointing at everything. David, driving, turned to look at me and our daughter with love. As the car passed a large prison, I fell silent. I knew people inside were paying for mistakes. I'd heard Ethan would receive a reduced sentence soon for good behavior. Sophia, I heard, had a mental breakdown and was transferred to a psychiatric hospital. Mr. Caldwell, old and sick, finally broke down behind bars. I no longer hated them. My heart was now filled with peace. All hatred was behind me, love and forgiveness had taken its place. The opening party was a great success. Amidst the bustle, I received a beautiful bouquet of white roses with no sender's name. Inside was a small card with shaky handwriting, typical of an elderly person. Congratulations. May you be very happy. I knew who it was from. Probably someone somewhere, watching me, sincerely wishing me the best. That night, after the party, when Ava was asleep, David and I stood on the hotel balcony, looking at New York's bright lights. He hugged me from behind, chin resting on my shoulder. Thank you, he whispered, for coming into my life, for making my days meaningful. I smiled, turned, and rested my head on his chest. I should be more grateful. Thank you for healing all the wounds within me. We hugged in silence, fully feeling the happiness of the present. Life truly is like a long journey with countless unpredictable forks. There were times I thought I'd fallen into despair's abyss. But it was in the darkest place that I found the light of my life, a new beginning, a new happiness. Everything was here in my arms. After the New York trip, we returned to our quiet routine. Our small house was filled with Ava's laughter and family warmth. Liam often visited weekends with his wife and son. Watching my daughter and nephew play, my heart felt completely healed. The past seemed distant, just an old story I remembered sometimes. The anonymous white roses and card from the opening, I regarded as a late apology from some relative of Ethan's. I didn't want to dwell on it. I put the card in a drawer, locking it as if closing an old chapter. But life isn't always calm. The first ripples formed subtly. At first, I thought it was just my hypersensitivity from everything I'd endured. Sometimes, while driving, I felt a familiar black sedan following me. But in the rearview mirror, it would vanish. Once, playing with Ava in a park, I felt a fixed gaze from a distant bench. A middle-aged woman, elegantly dressed, a wide-brimmed hat and sunglasses covering her face. When I looked again, she quickly turned and left. When I told David, he laughed and hugged me. You're overthinking things. You're a successful, beautiful executive now. It's normal for some admirer to look at you. But I knew he said it to reassure me. His police instincts silently stayed alert. I'll check the security cameras around the house. It never hurts to be cautious, he added. That incident was soon forgotten until Ava's second birthday. The party was intimate, just Liam's family, us, and a few close friends. While everyone sang happy birthday, the doorbell rang. David opened it and returned with a beautifully wrapped gift, but his expression was strange. It's from a courier service, he said. A gift for Ava, but no sender's name. We were surprised. I took the box, a vague unease washing over me. It was wrapped in high-quality paper, tied with an elaborate pink silk ribbon. Clearly, the sender had taken great care. Could it be from some business partner who appreciates you? Liam guessed. I thought so too. Probably a business gift. I opened the box carefully under curious gazes. Inside, on soft velvet, was a small, exquisite white gold bracelet. The charm was a finely carved lotus flower with a small diamond sparkling in the center. It was very valuable, but what froze me wasn't its value, but the small card with it. The handwriting was soft, elegant, and very familiar. I opened the card with trembling hands. Inside, a single short line, "Happy birthday to our little one." From her grandmother. *, our little one. From her grandmother. Asterisk the word grandmother struck me like lightning. Who? My mother had passed away. David's mother lived in the countryside and didn't write with such refined handwriting. Certainly not my trembling ex-mother-in-law. I picked up the card, comparing it to the handwriting on the white roses card I received at the opening. Identical. It was the same person. A person who called herself my daughter's grandmother. Chloe, what's wrong? You're as pale as a sheet, David said, shaking my shoulder with concern. I didn't answer, just showed him the card. David read it, his handsome brows furrowing. He picked up the bracelet, examining it carefully. This is very strange, he said. Who is this person? How does she know Ava's birthday and send such an expensive gift? I collapsed into a chair, my mind in a mess. Scattered images flashed, the black sedan, the mysterious woman in the park, the anonymous white roses, and now this white gold bracelet with a note from grandmother. Not a coincidence. Someone, a woman, was silently watching my life and my daughter. She knew a lot about us, was very rich, and called herself Ava's grandmother. But how was that possible? My mother had died years ago in a terrible car accident. I'd seen her funeral photos. Liam and I had buried her. No mistake. So, who is this woman? A distant relative I didn't know? Or a much more terrible secret I had no idea about? I looked at my little daughter. Ava was still laughing and chattering innocently, completely unaware of the storm brewing around her. A lump formed in my throat. I would not allow anyone to harm my daughter. I had to find out the truth. Whoever that mysterious woman was, whatever her purpose, I had to find her. The quiet life I had worked so hard to achieve seemed to be facing a new storm again. A storm blowing from the very past I thought I knew so well. The mysterious birthday gift completely shattered the cheerful atmosphere. After all the guests left, only Liam's family and ours remained. My brother examined the bracelet, his face as serious as mine. This is not a simple matter, he said in a low voice. A custom-made baby bracelet like this, white gold with a diamond, must cost tens of thousands of dollars. This person is no ordinary individual. My sister-in-law, a wise and delicate woman, spoke up. Couldn't it be someone from your ex-husband's family, Chloe? Maybe they're trying to get close to the child that way. Impossible. I shook my head firmly. They have no reason to. And more importantly, this handwriting isn't theirs. David remained silent for a while, deep in thought, then spoke with the seriousness of a police officer. The first thing we need to do is trace the origin of this gift. I'll take the box and wrapping to the crime lab. We might find fingerprints or other clues. And I'll review all the security cameras on the streets near our house today to track the courier's vehicle. Liam nodded. Right, I'll also use my contacts to ask major jewelers if anyone recognizes this bracelet design. The lotus design is quite unique. It's likely a custom order. Our conversation reached a dead end. Though we considered several hypotheses, none explained the appearance of this grandmother. That night, I couldn't sleep. I hugged my little daughter, watching her sleep. An invisible fear enveloped me. Who is this woman? What did she want with my daughter? Did she have bad intentions? The following days passed in anxiety. David and Liam did everything, but all leads hit a dead end. The courier service was small, the sender paid cash, used a fake name. Cameras showed an ordinary delivery person. No jeweler recognized the design. The mysterious woman seemed to have calculated everything meticulously, leaving no trace. Seeing the investigation stalled, I felt more anxious. I decided I couldn't wait passively. I had to find answers myself. I started with my past, with what I knew about my mother. I took a few days off, left Ava with my mother-in-law, and returned alone to my parents' old house, where Liam and I grew up. I hadn't been back in ages. The house was the same, covered in dust, but every corner evoked warm memories of my mother. I started cleaning the attic, where she kept old items and family keepsakes. I hoped to find, among those seemingly insignificant objects, a clue about the mysterious woman, a secret my mother never told us. I flipped through old photo albums, black and white, faded colors. My mother, beautiful and radiant in youth. My parents, happy on their wedding day. Liam and me as children, smiling innocently in their arms. I looked them over and over, but saw no luxurious, unfamiliar woman. Just as I was about to give up, my hand brushed against a small wooden box hidden at the bottom of an old trunk. It was locked with a rusty padlock. After struggling, I opened it. Inside, no jewels or money, but a stack of yellowed letters, tied with a purple ribbon. I picked them up, hands trembling. The handwriting was neither my mother's nor my father's. It was soft, elegant, and identical to the one on Ava's birthday card. My heart stopped. I quickly opened the first letter. My dearest sister Catherine, it began. A year has passed since that fateful day. I still can't forget how you saved me from that car about to explode. I don't know how I can ever repay you for this favor. I'm sending you a small gift. Please accept it. I know you'll refuse, but please don't. Consider it a small token for me for the 2 children you have at home. I must leave now. I can't stay in this place that has taken everything from me. Perhaps one day, when everything calms down, we will meet again. With all my love, Adrian. I reread it several times, my mind in a turmoil. Sister Catherine, that was my mother. Asterisk a car accident? A savior, asterisk my mother had never told us this story. And Adrian? Who is she? Why did she write to my mother? I quickly read the following letters. They were from abroad, France and Switzerland. Adrian wrote about her new life, her loneliness, the torment of leaving home. She always asked about Liam and me, and always sent expensive gifts, gifts my mother probably never told us we had. The last letter was dated about 5 years ago, the handwriting a bit shakier. Sister Catherine, I believe my time is short. This illness has tormented me for too long. My only regret is that I never came back to take care of my 2 children. I know I don't deserve to. I abandoned them. But please, sister, love them for me. Tell them that wherever I am, their mother will always be watching over them and loving them. I am sending you this key. It is the key to a personal safe deposit box in a Swiss bank. Inside is all the fortune I have amassed. Please give it to my children when they are older. Consider it the final compensation from a sinful mother. Goodbye, my sister, my friend, and my savior, Adrian. The letter fell from my hands. My whole body shook. Children, mother, the truth, an incredible truth, slowly revealed itself. This woman, Adrian, she was. No, it couldn't be. My mother was Catherine Miller, and she was dead. There had to be a mistake. But this stack of letters, this key, the familiar handwriting. I sat stunned in the dusty attic. My mind swirled with confusion. The past I knew, the identity I believed in, everything felt blurry and strange. A huge family secret, buried for over 20 years, was about to unravel, directly related to me. That night, I couldn't sleep a minute. The stack of Adrian's letters and the small key lay silently on the desk, but my mind was a whirlwind. Her mother, 2 children, those phrases repeated, stabbing deep into my heart. I tried to dismiss the crazy idea that Liam and I weren't the biological children of the woman we called Mom. But everything fit together terrifyingly. The handwriting, the expensive gifts, the term grandmother for Ava. The next morning, I couldn't wait. I had to find Liam. He had to know. He was my brother, my only family. He had a right to the truth about our roots. I drove hastily back to the city, straight to his office. Seeing my haggard look and sunken eyes, he questioned me with concern. I said nothing, just silently closed the door and placed the letters and key on his desk. Read it, I said, my voice hoarse. Liam, surprised, picked up the first letter. As he read, his expression changed from surprise to astonishment and shock. He read every letter, his hand trembling. When he finished the last one, he collapsed into his chair, staring into space with lost eyes. No, it can't be, he muttered, shaking his head. Our mother is Catherine. Who is this Adrian? I thought so, too, I said bitterly. But brother, look at this handwriting. It's identical to the one on Ava's birthday card. I showed him the photo I'd taken. Liam stared at both. The last shred of doubt vanished. He covered his face, his broad shoulders shaking. For the first time, I saw my always strong, steady brother so fragile and helpless. We sat in silence for a long time, lost in confused thoughts. The past we knew, the mother we loved, had become a huge question mark. So, Mom? Catherine, Liam lifted his head, his voice strained. Wasn't our biological mother? She raised us. She loved us. Why did she hide this? I don't know, I shook my head, but I think she had her reasons. Mom Adrian said she had to leave, that she couldn't stay. Something terrible must have happened. A car accident. That clue came back. Mom Adrian said Mom Catherine saved her. Yes, the secret must be in that car accident. Liam looked me straight in the eye. We have to find out the truth, not just for us, but for both our mothers. Liam nodded, his gaze determined. You're right. We have to find out what exactly happened 25 years ago. Our investigation began with the vague clues. The letters, the car accident, the date, the name Adrian. Thanks to Liam's social standing and David's police contacts, it wasn't hard to reopen old, dusty case files. A few days later, we got the accident report. It was a terrible crash in the Rocky Mountains. A luxury car lost control and plunged off a cliff, exploding. According to the report, 4 people were in the car, the CEO of the Rivas Jewelers Group and his wife, and the driver and his wife. All 4 presumed dead. Rivas Jewelers, that name stunned Liam and me. It was an empire that once dominated the American jewelry industry, but mysteriously collapsed shortly after its CEO's death. Wait a minute, Liam said. Rivas. I remember. Our father worked at Rivas before founding the Miller Corporation. He was the CFO there. Another coincidence. Everything seemed connected. But the report says all 4 died, I puzzled. So who is Mom Adrian? And why did she say Mom Catherine saved her? That's the key, David interjected, who was with us. He pointed to the autopsy report. Of the 4 bodies found, one was so badly burned it was unrecognizable. Based on some bone fragments, they could only confirm it was a woman. And people assumed it was the wife of the Rivas CEO, Mrs. Adrian. That means, I held my breath, that it's very likely that woman was not Mrs. Adrian, David concluded. Mrs. Adrian survived the accident, and it's possible the person who saved her was our mother Catherine. But for some reason, she chose to become a dead person in everyone's eyes and live another life abroad. But why? Why would a woman with status, money, and everything abandon it all, even her 2 children? This accident, Liam mused, was it really an accident or was it murder? My brother's questions silenced the room. If it was murder, who was the mastermind? And why did Mom Adrian have to flee? At that moment, David's phone rang. It was an old colleague from New York. He stepped out to answer, returning with a serious expression. New information, he said. I asked them to check the list of top executives at Rivas Jewelers from that time. Guess who was appointed acting CEO right after the death of CEO Rivas and his wife? Who? Liam and I asked in unison. It was him, David's voice firmed. The CEO of Aurelian Holdings, Mr. Caldwell. That name again. Our family's old enemy, the man who drove our father to his death. A wave of nausea and anger rose in my throat. This can't be a coincidence. Liam slammed the table. Caldwell, our father, Rivas Jewelers, and that car accident. There has to be a connection. A dark and terrible picture was beginning to take shape. A conspiracy hidden for 25 years. A crime that not only claimed lives, but shattered a family. And now, by chance, we were getting closer to the heart of that secret. The search for our roots had unexpectedly turned into the pursuit of the truth of a serial murder case, and the most likely suspect was our family's arch-nemesis. Mr. Caldwell's name was like a key, unlocking a dark door to terrible secrets. All the events now converged into a terrifying hypothesis. Caldwell hadn't just driven our father to his death to take over Miller Corporation. It was very likely that 25 years earlier, he was behind that terrible accident to devour the entire Rivas Jewelers Group. If that's true, Liam gritted his teeth. He's not human. He's a demon. But all of this is just conjecture for now, David said, trying to maintain his professional calm. We don't have concrete evidence to charge him. The case is too old, and almost all traces have likely been erased. And Mom Adrian? I intervened. If she's alive, she's the most important witness. She'll know exactly what happened. But why did she flee? Why didn't she come forward? She was probably scared, Liam replied. The enemy was too powerful. She had to worry not only about herself, but also about her 2 children. Perhaps becoming a dead person was the only way to protect us. I felt a lump in my throat. My biological mother's departure wasn't abandonment, but a silent sacrifice. She gave up everything for her children's safety, living in loneliness and torment in a foreign country. And our mother, Catherine, who raised us, was also part of that sacrifice, living her life with that secret locked in her heart. What do we do now? I asked, looking between David and Liam. Go to Switzerland to find Mom Adrian, I suggested. No, David and Liam opposed, almost in unison. It's too dangerous, David explained. Mr. Caldwell is a cunning old fox. His information network is everywhere. If he finds out we're investigating, he won't hesitate to use any means to silence us, just like he did with your father. Besides, we're not sure Mom Adrian wants to see us. The last letter was written 5 years ago. No one knows her situation now. David is right, Liam continued. What we need to do now is look for evidence here first. The safe deposit box key is the most important clue. It's very likely that the fortune Mom Adrian left not only contains money, but also something that can expose Mr. Caldwell's crimes. But that's a Swiss bank, I worried. Their bank secrecy laws are the strictest in the world. Even if we have the key, I don't think I can just go and open it myself. Leave it to me, Liam said with determination. I have a lawyer friend who specializes in international law. I'll ask him to find a solution. It might take time, but it's not impossible. While Liam handled Switzerland, David and I started from another angle, finding former witnesses who worked at Rivas Jewelers at the time of the accident. 25 years is a long time, but surely some people knew what happened. People who had to keep silent due to Caldwell's oppression, bribery, or threats. Our search was difficult. Many had moved. Many had passed away. Those who remained, upon hearing Rivas, Jewelers, and Mr. Caldwell, shook their heads in fear, refusing to talk. Caldwell's power and cruelty had cast such a large shadow that it had oppressed them for decades. After days of desperate searching, we finally had a stroke of luck. We found Mr. Paul, the retired former chauffeur of the Rivas CEO's family. He was a frail old man living alone in a small suburban house. When we arrived, he sat on his porch, looking into the distance with sad eyes. At first, he refused to talk, but when I showed him Mom Adrian's photo and told him my identity, his old eyes filled with tears. Miss, are you Miss Chloe? He asked, voice trembling. When I nodded, Mr. Paul burst into tears. My God, you're alive. He thought the whole CEO's family was gone. He invited us in. After calming down, he told the story of 25 years ago, a nightmare he'd kept in his heart. The day of the accident, Mr. Paul began, trembling. I was supposed to drive that car. But that morning, the then vice president, Mr. Caldwell, suddenly sent me to another state on an errand. He said it was urgent and sent another driver in my place. He was a young kid who had just started. I didn't know him well. When I heard the news, I felt something was wrong. That car was the CEO's. I checked it every day. It was impossible for the brakes to fail. I tried to tell the police, but no one believed me. They said I was rambling from grief. And a few days later, Mr. Caldwell sent someone to give me a large sum of money and threatened that if I kept talking, my family wouldn't be safe. Out of fear, Mr. Paul hung his head, his voice filled with regret. I had to keep silent. I took the money and left the job. For these 25 years, I haven't slept a single night in peace. Remorse and guilt have tormented me. Mr. Paul's testimony was living proof. The accident wasn't a coincidence, but a meticulously planned conspiracy. Mr. Caldwell, Mr. Paul added, was not only cruel, but also very distrustful. He always had a small recorder installed in the CEO's office to monitor all his conversations. I once accidentally saw him secretly changing the batteries. A flash of insight struck me. A recorder. If it was still there, it likely held important conversations, evidence that could expose Caldwell. But where's that office? Rivas Jewelers no longer exists. Its old headquarters must be owned by another company now. When we felt lost, Mr. Paul offered another valuable piece of information. After the CEO's death, Mr. Caldwell sealed his entire old office. He said it was to preserve his memories, but I know he was scared. Scared that someone would find something inside. That room is still intact on the top floor of the old Rivas building. All clues converged. A room sealed for 25 years, potentially containing the black box of the entire case. But how could we get into such a heavily guarded place, owned by another group? The old Rivas building, now called Aurelian Tower, stood in the city center like an impregnable fortress. Infiltrating it, especially the sealed room on the top floor, was an almost impossible mission for ordinary people. This can't be done through normal channels, David said after circling the building. The security system here is state-of-the-art. Surveillance cameras everywhere, guards patrolling 24/7. Access doors on each floor use magnetic cards. It's impossible to get in through the front door. While we racked our brains, Liam called with important news. He'd been silent for days. I've spoken with my lawyer friend. He says as biological children, we have the right to request information about our mother's safe deposit box at the Swiss bank, but the process is complicated and will take months. But he discovered something interesting. 5 years ago, right when Mom Adrienne sent the last letter, someone else tried to access that safe deposit box, but failed due to lack of identity documents. Who? I asked anxiously. It was Mr. Caldwell's people. A chill ran down my spine. He also knew about the safe deposit box. He'd been looking for it for years. This confirmed even more that something threatening him was inside. It also meant we didn't have much time. If Caldwell discovered we were investigating, he wouldn't hesitate to act first. The urgency forced a bold decision. If we can't get in through the front door, I said, looking at David and Liam, we'll get in another way. Aurelian Tower and our Miller Tower are right next to each other. The height of the roofs is almost the same. Don't tell me, Liam looked at me amazed. No, Chloe, it's too dangerous. It's the only way, I said firmly. We don't have any more time. You can disable Miller Tower's security system. David has the technology and experience as a police officer. And I have to get in there. That room is related to my past. After a long discussion, they reluctantly agreed. The plan was drawn up meticulously. Action time, 2 a.m. when both buildings were quiet. That night, the city slept. Only faint streetlights remained. Standing on Miller Tower's roof with David, my heart pounded. The wind whipped my hair fiercely. Aurelian Tower's roof seemed only 15 feet away. Not a great distance, but an abyss between life and death. David carefully prepared the equipment. An expert, he used a special gun to launch a high-strength cable to the railing of the opposite building. It anchored firmly. I'll go first, David said, his voice deep, reassuring. When I cross and secure the area, you'll slide down the rope. Don't be afraid. I'll hold you tight. I nodded, palms damp with sweat. I held my breath as David deftly hung from the rope, crossing the dark void. Minutes later, he was safe on the other side, signaling me. It was my turn. I took a deep breath, clinging tightly to the cold rope. My whole body suspended in the night sky. Below, city lights seemed distant. A small mistake could send me falling. But the thought of my mother, of the truth awaiting me, gave me strength. When my feet touched Aurelian Tower's railing, David rushed to help me. You did it, he whispered proudly. We quickly disabled the roof cameras and found the emergency stairs. The sealed office was just one floor below. The old lock was no problem for David. The heavy door creaked open, revealing a space plunged into darkness and dust for 25 years. We turned on a small flashlight. The dim light scanned the room. Everything as Mr. Paul described. Desk, bookshelf, sofa set, all covered in thick dust. The stale air smelled of time. According to Mr. Paul, the recorder was hidden behind a large oil painting. David carefully took it down. Sure enough, an old cassette recorder was cleverly installed in a small recess. Will it still work? I worried. Hard to say, David replied. But let's take it anyway. While David dismantled the device, I searched further. I intuitively felt there had to be something else. My flashlight scanned the bookshelf, hundreds of old, leather-bound books, mostly on management and law. Suddenly, I remembered my father's habit. As a CFO, he always carried a small notebook for important things, secrets he didn't want anyone to know. Would CEO Rivas have a similar habit? I pulled out books one by one, flipping pages quickly. Picking up a thick law book, Justice and Truth, I noticed it was strangely heavy. When I opened it, my heart stopped. The inside was hollowed out, leaving space for a small black, leather-bound notebook. I picked it up, trembling. Asterisk, this is it. It has to be this. Asterisk, just then, we heard footsteps and faint murmurs from the hallway. Check the roof area carefully. I think I saw a suspicious shadow. My heart dropped. We'd been discovered. Security guards were patrolling. The way back was blocked. We were trapped in this secret room. The footsteps grew closer. Light from their flashlights seeped under the door, creating ghostly shadows. I felt a knot in my chest, cold sweat on my back. If caught with this evidence, our plan would be ruined. We'd be charged with trespassing. The notebook and recorder would never see light. David motioned for silence. He quickly turned off the flashlight and pulled me behind a huge, old filing cabinet. We held our breath, making no sound. We heard keys jingle. My heart pounded. They were coming in. This room has been sealed for a long time. Who would come in here? A voice asked. Better safe than sorry, another replied. Lately, the boss has been telling us to keep a close eye on this area. The boss, someone from Caldwell's camp. Despite years, he still had this place watched. It confirmed he knew what was hidden. The lock clicked. The door creaked open. A dazzling beam swept the room. David and I almost stopped breathing, pressed against the cold cabinet. Fortunately, it was large, and we were in the deepest corner. See nothing, just dust and cobwebs, the first voice said. Come on, let's check other places. They lingered for a few seconds, light scanning, then the door slammed shut. We heard the lock click, footsteps fading. We were safe, for now. I let out a shaky sigh. David motioned to wait longer. 10 minutes later, sure they were gone, he turned the flashlight back on. We have to get out of here now, he whispered. The way we came is no longer safe. But how? The main door is locked and there are guards in the hallway. We were trapped. David's gaze scanned the room, stopping at a small ventilation window near the ceiling. That's the only way out. The window was small, high up, barely enough for one person. It opened onto the building's facade. Outside, only a narrow ledge, barely a foot wide, ran along the wall. It's too dangerous. I shook my head. One small misstep. It's the only option, David said firmly. Do you trust me? In this critical situation, his calm and determination were my only support. I nodded. David moved the old desk against the wall, stacked a chair on top. He climbed up, carefully unlatched the window. A gust of cold night air rushed in. That leads to an emergency balcony at the end of the hall, he explained. It's about 30 feet away. I'll go first and come back to help you. You just have to stick to the wall and walk very slowly. With that, he slipped out, stepping carefully onto the narrow ledge. My heart leaped into my throat. A strong gust of wind could have sent him falling, but David moved with professionalism. His steps were firm, back pressed against the wall. Minutes later, he reached the balcony, signaling me. It was my turn. The notebook and recorder were safely tucked into my crossbody bag. I took a deep breath, trying not to look down. My legs trembled as I stepped onto the ledge. My whole body pressed against the cold wall. Wind whistled, carrying city sounds. Don't be afraid. Just look at me, I heard David's deep, calm, reassuring voice. Just one step at a time. I focused on his figure, trying not to think about the abyss. 30 feet had never seemed so long. When my hand finally touched David's outstretched one, I felt alive again. We went down several floors via emergency stairs, then found a way back into the main hallway. Fortunately, security was patrolling another area. We quickly returned to the roof and crossed back to Miller Tower on the rope. When my feet touched familiar ground, I collapsed, panting. The suffocating escape was over. Back in the safety of my apartment, we didn't rest. We immediately began examining what we'd brought. Liam had arrived, listening to our story with a worried expression. David carefully opened the old recorder. After fiddling, he got it working. We held our breath, listening intently. The old cassette tape began to turn, emitting the static of time. Then, we heard a familiar voice. C.O. Rivas, my biological father. He was on the phone. I don't agree, Vice President Caldwell. That project is too risky. The cash flow isn't transparent. I can't approve it. After a brief silence, his voice sharpened. I've told you before. Don't try to fool me. I know what you're doing behind my back. If you don't stop, I will reveal everything to the world. The call ended. My heart pounded. This was proof of the conflict between my father and Mr. Caldwell. But the next recording truly stunned us. This time, it was Mr. Caldwell's voice. He was talking to someone. The old man has found out everything. We can't leave him alive. A car accident. Yes, it has to look like an accident. His family. Take care of all of them. Leave no one behind. And then Rivas will be ours. A recorded confession from 25 years ago. Undeniable. At the same time, I opened the black, leather-bound notebook. Inside were not only records of Rivas Jewelers' business transactions, but also short diary entries from my father. He wrote about his worry upon discovering Caldwell's conspiracy, his anxiety about feeling watched, and his infinite love for his wife and 2 young children. And on the last page, there was a line written hastily in a special ink. An ink visible only under ultraviolet light. A prudent habit of finance professionals. Liam and I knew it well. We quickly turned off the lights, and David shined a small UV flashlight he always carried onto the paper. The writing appeared. All original evidence, contracts, account statements are in the safe deposit box at the Swiss bank. Number XYZ. I have entrusted the key to Catherine. If anything happens to me, trust her. Catherine will know what to do. Everything became clear. Mom Catherine not only raised us, but was the trusted person my father entrusted with protecting the most important evidence, the inheritance, and the future of his 2 children. The love and sacrifice our 2 mothers showed us were immense and grand. Tears welled again, but this time they were tears of gratitude and pride. We now had in our hands the confession from the past, the clue to decisive evidence in Switzerland, and Mr. Caldwell's current crimes. The plan for the final counterattack, the decisive battle, was about to begin. The net of heaven had been woven tightly. All that was left was for the biggest fish to fall into it himself. With irrefutable evidence in our hands, we knew the hour of final judgment was very near. But we also knew that confronting a cunning old fox like Mr. Caldwell required careful planning. A small mistake could give him the opportunity to turn the tables and erase all traces. We need a perfectly flawless plan, Liam said with a firm expression. We have to hit him by surprise, without giving him time to react. The plan was drawn up with all 3 of us. Liam, with his position in the business world, would deliver the decisive blow in the commercial arena. David, with the support of his trusted colleagues, would handle the legal aspect to leave him no escape. And I would confront him directly, becoming the fuse for the bomb that was about to detonate. The first step was Switzerland. With the recording and notebook as evidence, and the cooperation of American police, Liam's lawyer friend quickly convinced the Swiss bank. They agreed to open the safe deposit box, on condition that I was present, and the process was supervised by both parties. A week later, Liam and I were in Zurich. The bank vault was cold and silent. When the familiar metal box was placed on the table, my heart pounded. Mom Catherine's key slid smoothly into the lock, and with a turn, the box clicked open. Inside, no money or jewels, but a thick stack of documents carefully wrapped in plastic. They were all the originals of the ghost contracts, bank statements recording illicit money flows, and all the secret agreements Caldwell had used to take over Rivas Jewelers. Each document bore his handwritten signature. This was the ultimate weapon, the final sword that could end that demon's career. With the lawyer present, we made copies, sending them immediately to David. Everything was ready. Upon our return to the United States, the atmosphere was tense. Mr. Caldwell, after the failed intrusion attempt at Aurelian Tower, seemed to have sensed the danger. He became defensive. His bodyguards doubled. All his meetings were strictly controlled. He's trying to erase his tracks and move his assets, David reported in an emergency meeting. We have to act before it's too late. D-Day was set. It was the day of Aurelian Holdings' annual general meeting, a major event gathering management, shareholders, and media. It would be the perfect stage for us to end this play. That morning, I chose a deep red dress, a color symbolizing power and determination. Liam wore his elegant suit, but his eyes held an unusually fierce determination. We attended not as competitors, but as guests of honor, a surprising move Liam had arranged through shareholders favorable to Miller Corporation. The convention center auditorium was packed. Mr. Caldwell sat at the head of the stage, still maintaining an expression of confidence and authority. He was giving a passionate speech about Aurelian Holdings' achievements and ambitious future plans, a perfect speech from a confident leader. When his speech ended to thunderous applause, Liam gave me a signal. "Excuse me." A voice boomed from the doorway. It was David, entering in uniform with an investigative team. "Mr. Caldwell, CEO of Aurelian Holdings. We're here to execute an emergency arrest and search warrant in connection with charges of organized murder and misappropriation of assets." The hall was stunned. All cameras turned instantly to the stage. Mr. Caldwell leaped up, his face changing, but he tried to maintain composure. "What are you talking about? There must be some mistake. I am an honest businessman." "There is no mistake, Mr. Caldwell." I raised my voice as I walked from the audience. All eyes turned to me. "Or would you like me to remind you of the car accident that took place in the Rocky Mountains 25 years ago?" Hearing this, the composure on his face completely crumbled. He looked at me, his eyes filled with hatred and astonishment. Liam also stood, going on stage. He held a stack of documents. "And also what you did to my father. The time has come for you to pay for all your crimes." Liam signaled the technical crew. On the giant screen behind Mr. Caldwell, instead of growth charts, images of documents, contracts, and bank statements appeared. At the same time, the recording of Mr. Caldwell's own voice, ordering the elimination of the entire Rivas family, echoed throughout the hall. "Turn it off. Turn it off now." Mr. Caldwell roared like a wounded beast, running frantically towards the control panel, but it was too late. All the evidence had been revealed before hundreds of people, before the cameras of the entire country. David and his colleagues quickly moved in, putting him in handcuffs. "Richard Caldwell, you are under arrest." The Aurelian Holdings empire, built on blood and tears, collapsed in an instant. Standing on the stage, I watched as the enemy of two families was led away. I felt no jubilation, but a strange, light relief. Justice had finally been served. Mom, Dad, are you watching? We did it. Amidst it all, a woman ran out from the crowd and knelt at my feet, crying inconsolably. It was Mr. Caldwell's wife. "Miss Chloe, please forgive my husband. He was just too ambitious." I looked at the poor woman, then out the window. The sky was still blue, the sun still warm, and life would go on. But there are mistakes that can never be forgiven. The case of Aurelian Holdings' collapse caused a huge shock, not only in the business world, but throughout society. Crimes hidden for 25 years finally came to light. The media reported and analyzed day after day the cruelty and cunning of Mr. Caldwell. He went from being a successful entrepreneur, an example of self-made success, to the embodiment of evil in an instant. With irrefutable evidence, Mr. Caldwell was sentenced to the maximum penalty for his crimes. His accomplices, the subordinates who had helped him for years, were also brought to justice and received their deserved punishment. After the trial, our lives gradually returned to normal. The Miller Corporation, after eliminating an unfair competitor, experienced spectacular development, becoming a company not only financially sound, but also respected for its business ethics. Liam, after avenging his father, seemed to have lifted a huge weight off his shoulders. He became more cheerful and open, spending more time with his small family. As for Rivas Jewelers, as the sole legitimate heirs, Liam and I decided not to keep it. It was stained with too much blood and tears. We decided to sell all the group's assets. A portion was used to compensate the victims and their families harmed by Mr. Caldwell's illegal practices. The rest was used to create a charitable foundation called the Adrian and Catherine Foundation. A foundation to help orphans and women in difficult situations. It was the best way to honor and thank our two great mothers. A year after the major case closed, I received a letter, not an email, but a handwritten letter from an address in France. The handwriting was much weaker, but I recognized it instantly. It was Mom Adrienne's. "My dearest children, Liam and Chloe, by the time you read this letter, Mom will be in a very distant place. From the explosion at the wedding to the final trial, Mom has seen everything. You are very brave and strong. Mom is very proud of you. I know you may never forgive the mother who abandoned you for decades. But I truly had no other choice. The death long ago was the only way to protect you from the clutches of that demon. I had to live with torment, longing, and guilt. But knowing you were growing up safely under the love of my sister Catherine made all my sacrifice worthwhile. Now that the wicked man has paid for his crimes, the heavy burden on my heart can finally be released. I believe I can now go in peace and reunite with your father. Be happy, my children. Live a truly meaningful life in the name of your mother and father. I love you very much, Mom Adrienne." Attached was my mother's death certificate. She had passed away just days after Mr. Caldwell's trial ended. Liam and I hugged each other and cried. They were tears of sadness, but also of understanding and peace. We could finally call her mom with a peaceful heart. My life, after so many storms, finally found a quiet harbor. David and I decided to have a small, warm wedding in Napa Valley, where our love began. On the wedding day, instead of a luxurious gown, I chose an elegant silk dress in soft blush, simple and pure. In my hand, instead of a bouquet, I held tightly to David's hand, the man who had accompanied me through the most difficult times. Liam looked at me with a happy smile, his eyes shining. Ava, in a beautiful princess dress, scattered rose petals on our path. Amidst that warm atmosphere, we had a special guest. It was Mr. Paul, the former chauffeur. He brought us a small gift, an old photo of my biological parents in a simple wooden frame. "Miss, I wish you all the happiness," he said, his voice trembling. I accepted the gift, my heart full of emotion. The past was over, but the good memories and feelings would last forever. That afternoon, as the sun set over the rolling hills of Napa, David and I stood side by side, looking at the distant horizon. A new chapter of life, a new life full of love and hope, was opening before us. I knew that from now on, no storm could knock me down, because by my side, there would always be people who loved me unconditionally. And I believe that somewhere high above, my three parents, my mothers and father, will be watching over us and blessing us with a smile. What an incredible journey, right? It truly felt like something out of a movie. I'm so grateful to have found peace, love, and justice after everything. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that completely changed the course of your life, forcing you to find strength you never knew you had? Tell me about it in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your stories.